Look, there are hundreds of millions of people who love video games, right? There's hundreds of millions out there.
Hello.
Hey there.
Yeah,
Don't hate us. No comments, all right?
Games consoles are the way that gamers have been enjoying games for years and years and years now. But is the era of the console at an end? With me is a man who doesn't think so. It's Rob Crossley from CNET's sister site GameSpot. Rob, you think that games consoles are not going anywhere. I slightly disagree. Tell me, to start with, games consoles, why are they staying? Aren't we done? Aren't we done?
No, we're absolutely not done at all. There is an audience of gamers who absolutely adore the stuff. And they've been going on for 20, 30 years, nearly 40 years now. These are people who will pay £50, $50 for a premium video game, okay? These are people that love video games, these are people that talk about video games, and there are quite a few million of these people, okay? There's tens of millions of these people, and their passion for video games has not diminished. If anything, it's become more intense in the internet age, as you could probably seen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So these people, if you have an audience that love video games, and if that audience is huge, okay, the audience might have shrunk just slightly, but if you have that audience, then you have a business, and so consoles are going to carry on, absolutely.
But looking at the most recent generation of consoles, so your Wii U and the Xbox One, PS4,
Yeah.
I remember the sort of surprise from industry onlookers when all of these games consoles that were announced had like a CD drive, for example.
Yeah.
Whereas it felt like, aren't we sort of at the point where actually do we really need like a CD drive? And then you start thinking, well, hang on, actually, sort of if everything's sort of downloaded, do we even like really need a box? Could we not just have like a hard drive with a PSN subscription or something like that? And
Yeah.
you start to like, it feels like the role of the console is just sort of being eroded and eroded. And I think maybe these boxes that sit under our televisions, soon they'll be gone. A distant memory.
Well, consoles have definitely become media centers. Certainly in the case of PlayStation's line, certainly in the case of Xbox's line of consoles, they're becoming media hubs. But nevertheless, Grand Theft Auto 5 launched in 2013, re-released last year and this year. That's the best-selling Solace video game of all time. So there's still a massive audience for these games.
Yeah, definitely. But is there a massive audience for them sort of in the way that we're getting them at the moment? Because you're right, like that's an interesting point about retailers. But you said that sort of discs are sort of hanging on in there, and you're right. And compared to other mediums, like if you look at music, what's happening with Spotify, and like Apple, which is expected to launch a streaming service. If you look at TV and the rise of like Netflix and things like HBO's streaming service, doesn't it feel a little bit like the video game industry, which was once a sort of pioneer of the digital medium, is slightly behind? Because of these big, chunky, boxy things full of bits of electricity and components and that. It feels a bit cluttery.
Well, I'll tell you something. There was a service called OnLive, and that was announced in 2009, okay?
Yeah, I remember it well.
Yeah. Pre-Netflix, pre-HBO Go, pre-Spotify.
Yeah.
And this was an idea of streaming games to people's households without any wires and what you explained. It didn't do too well. And that's because video games, I mean, a song is 2 meg or something like that, and a video game is 50 gigabytes. Streaming an interactive form of media, which is 50 gigabytes, is not easy. And it's going to take a long time before it's feasible. There's PlayStation Now right now. That's not PlayStation Now right now, but there's a service called PlayStation Now.
Yeah, and that's Sony's game streaming service.
Yeah,
right?
And it's not doing too well. It's not doing so great. They're not putting the thrusters behind it. They're not fully backing it. Because when you stream a video game, it just doesn't work at the moment. The technology's not there. The internet is not ready for it, basically.
Right.
So yes, games are a bit archaic in terms of their software delivery, as you say, but that's the internet's fault and not
the games industry's fault.
It's the theoretical speed of the internet's fault.
Okay.
And not the games industry.
All right. But when you talk about technical limitations like that, I think there's an argument to be made that consoles generally are just not as profitable as they could be. In fact, I think that generally the whole sort of console idea is sort of a mug's game, really. Like it's, I don't really know why Microsoft and Sony, giant tech behemoths that they are, have persisted with this console idea for so long. Because when the generation changes, look at let's say that I know this is going to be controversial, but let's say that Microsoft was pretty much the company that was on top of things in the last console generation, right? With the Xbox 360, it had a lead. It had so many Xbox fans. When I think of all of the fans that and sort of loyal customers that Microsoft must have lost because it stuck to this weird sort of rigmarole cycling through hardware thing where it released a console at the same time. They all release consoles at the same time, and it's just basically saying to your customers, like, look, here's our next thing. Here's what everyone else is doing as well. It's a chance to hop off what the sort of games console maker that you're with.
I think that's a fascinating point.
Yeah. And if you look at the companies that are making the most money in today's tech world, it's companies like Apple and Google, and they're companies that lock you into an ecosystem, or like Netflix or something. You're in, and suddenly you find you can't get out because you spent so much money. And Microsoft and Sony both have those ecosystems set up. So I don't know why they are giving their customers a chance to hop off the bus.
That is an excellent point.
Thank you.
And you've got me at my most nervous right now because that is a really good point. However, you're still wrong. Because you're absolutely right. And it happened with Nintendo. Every single time they released a console, apart from the Wii, every time they released a new console, less and less and less customers. A chance to drop off, as you say.
Yeah.
You don't trap them in the ecosystem. But this is an inevitability. Consoles do need to look better. Consoles do need to upgrade over time. And the byproduct of a console upgrading is new excitement amongst that massive group of gamers.
Right.
If you have new hardware, you have new possibilities, new games, new visuals, and people being excited again.
All right, well, that is what we think about games consoles, but what do you think? Do they have a future, or is it time to call an end to the days of the games console? Let me know and stay tuned.